So hi guys, my name is Brian Crehan. I'm the chairperson here for Kildare North Ógra. I'm here with TikTok sensation Ruth Codd, just having a quick chat about the issues facing amputees in the disabled community. Hi Ruth, how are you getting on?
Hi, how are you? I'm good, good.
Good stuff. Ruth, you would just do us a favour and tell us a bit about yourself, like how you went from TikTok to the stuff you're up to, and just maybe your journey so far.
Well, yeah, I suppose like everyone, I was just really bored during the first lockdown, so I made a TikTok with the intentions of deleting it before anyone from my town ever discovered it. But then within a couple of days, I had like a couple of 100,000 followers, so I was like, well, I suppose the secret's out, so we may keep it now. I suppose a bit about me is at 15 I broke my leg. It wasn't really treated correctly, and then everything just went wrong. So at 22, I was 23 when I got my leg, I eventually made the decision to get my leg amputated. That was after 8 or 9 years of just me being on crutches, being in a wheelchair. So I made the decision to get my leg amputated. Yeah, and that's me.
Yeah, it's fantastic to see someone from the disabled community like becoming a TikTok sensation. It really normalizes it for other people in that community to go down that pathway. So just here's a little detail here. There's roughly 5,000 people in Ireland are amputees. As you said yourself, there's a huge burden of cost, especially to young people. Could you give us just a slight breakdown on how much it costs, issues regarding it, little funding there is, stuff like that, medical cards?
Yeah, well, basically, no medical cards, you get nothing. And as you know, medical cards quite hard to come by unless you have a pre-existing condition. You're given your first basic prosthetic by the government, but that's only if you're willing to wait on a list for the surgery. So if you choose to go privately with the surgery, you don't get your first prosthetic from the government, which I wasn't willing to have something like that hang over my head for a year, or potentially more. So even with me going privately, I still had to wait 9 months for my surgery. That was with me going privately. So I had no funding. I took out a loan when it came. So I took out a 10 grand loan to pay for my prosthetic. Thankfully, I was in a job that allowed me to take out a loan. And a lot of people, especially when you're a kid, you need a new prosthetic every year. So if you're becoming amputees as a child, that is then up to your parents basically to get you a new prosthetic every year. And even as an adult, I'll probably need a new prosthetic every 2 years. So that's a massive financial burden on me. And it's not fair that there's a lot of people that can't afford to just shell out 2 grand every year, every 2 years. And the technology is there, the facilities are there, but as an amputee in Ireland, your quality of life completely depends on your financial situation, which, considering, as you said, there's 5,000 people that are amputees in Ireland, that's not really on.
Yeah, realistically, 5,000 people, it's a small community if you break it down, and an economic strain on the government, it just wouldn't make sense not to fund it.
No.
I see. Go on.
I just think, it shouldn't even when you have a medical card, the hoops you have to jump through to get the bare minimum is ridiculous. And it's, they treat it kind of only when it gets to crisis point, which could leave you off your feet for 6 months while you're waiting for someone in an office to sign a form. But you're only allowed to apply when something goes wrong. You're not allowed to apply in advance. So like if you're kind of growing out of your prosthetic or it's changing, you just won't get the funding. So, a lot of the time it's stopping and starting amputees' life. You can't hop around on one leg, or in some people's cases no legs,
Yeah, true. Yeah, I suppose like from physiotherapy even perspective, even like you're making so much progress, and then if there's any bump in the road financially, you're going to be put back to square one sometimes.
Yeah.
I see you're actually doing a GoFundMe for a friend of yours, I believe. We'll make sure to, absolutely. We'll make sure to put a link in the bio now for anyone who wants to contribute, and we'd encourage.
Oh, thank you. Thanks.
Or is
Yeah,
it?
he was born without a hand. I think he has been given one prosthetic by the government his entire life. And even at that, it's not a functional one. It's literally just for aesthetic, which, you know, isn't really any use to anyone. So he's raising a GoFundMe for I think they're called biomechanical arms. So he can like move his fingers, he can pick up things. You know, he's 24 years of age. He wants to be able to move out of his house, you know, do things like button up his shirt. You know, simple things that we would do without even thinking about. And, you know, by getting this hand, it'll allow him to do all the things he should be able to do. And, you know, are well within his abilities to do.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's why everyone in our unit was so happy to get behind, you know, talking to yourself and taking forward this campaign. You know, we're in Fianna Fáil because we believe in Ireland for all. And if there's lads like that who want to have the simple, you know, pleasure of tying your shoelaces or doing your shirt, you know, equality is equality. You know, everyone should be afforded an opportunity. Just talking on we've talked about the financial supports and the actual supports for prosthetic limbs for the disabled community. Dr. Michael McWilliam said it's an awful lot like bereavement. Then you adjust. He's the founder of amputee.ie. For those words, there's an element of trauma for amputees. Could you talk to us maybe about the mental health supports offered to amputees? Is there any? How traumatic is it? You know, that kind of thing.
Well, there's a very short answer to that, and that is that there's no emotional or mental health support provided at all. When I was getting my leg amputated, a woman came to me and she said, "What can we help you with?" And I said, maybe, you know, some counselling or something just to allow me to get my head around it. And she was like, "Oh, we don't offer that." I was like, "Okay." And I was like, "Well, what can you give me?" And she said, "A shower chair." So I was like, "Cool, thanks." I could have bought one of those in Argos, but thank you. You know, it's for me, I personally knew it was coming. You know, I had 8 years of to prepare myself. For me, it was a happy kind of release, you know, of not being in pain anymore, being able to walk around again. But for a lot of people, it's, you know, imagine being in a car crash and waking up and having this life-changing injury, you know, and not been provided with any emotional support. You know, you've lost a massive part of yourself. It's a massive thing to get your head around for a lot of people. And you know, mental health is as important as physical health. There is no point in going, you know, to all these physio appointments and, you know, learning how to walk again if emotionally you're not okay with it. And I think it probably does cost the government in turn a lot more. You know, it takes a lot of mental strength to teach yourself to walk again. And, you know, if you're not there and you're not willing to accept it and you've no help with learning how to accept it, you know, what's the point?
Absolutely. And I suppose it's very clear and a very present trauma. Like every day you're dealing with it every day, you can see it. It's not an invisible trauma like some other illnesses. So it's immediate kind of mental health support would be needed there.
And access, you know, when you're having down days, you know, just to even have a number to ring to say, you know, I'm not having a good day, you know, help me through that. And, you know, even with me, you know, I was kind of used to, I suppose, the most traumatic part of my injury for me was that, you know, when I was kind of 15, 16 and all of a sudden I wasn't able to walk again, you know, and, you know, that was the point in my life where I could have done with someone to talk to or someone to just help me get my head around what was happening to me. Because, you know, even as a child, you know, even as an adult, it's a hard thing to get your head around, but I couldn't imagine having that life-changing injury as a child and just being expected to go about your day and, you know, here's your new leg, off you go, good luck, type of thing, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think, personally, from my experiences in mental health sports, I don't think mainstream mental health sports would be there. They need to probably be specialised. Like it is such a life-altering thing. It's such a definite thing, you know? Just talking on that, and especially the barriers that we mentioned earlier, do you feel that there isn't enough of a push to limit the barriers for amputees? Like you've mentioned before, sports. Are there any other barriers amputees face that maybe non-amputees don't in their day-to-day lives that we mightn't be aware of?
Well, you know, the HSE kind of preach, you know, healthy eating, you know, exercise for half an hour a day. And, you know, amputees can't do that because we have no access to specialist equipment. We've no access, you know, my everyday limb isn't the same as like a running limb. You know, you need a different limb to run. You need a different, like if I wanted to go horse riding, I'd need a limb for that. But I financially can't afford them at the moment, so I can't do any of those things. You know, you can, you know, there's kind of this message, well, eat healthy and exercise for half an hour a day, but only if you're able-bodied, you know. And as you said, there's 5,000 people in Ireland. You know, that's not including the rest of the disabled community. There's 5,000 people that could and probably want to do loads of sport and get back to what they did, you know, before their surgery. I'd love to go back to being able to play hockey and, you know, to be able to horse ride competitively again. But financially, I can't do it because I can't afford it. When, you know, when the ability is there and the want is there to do it.
Absolutely.
And that kind of goes back to, you know, the mental health side of things as well. You know, I'm sure if I had access to those things, my mental health probably would improve massively. And, you know, as amputees, we're not asking for, you know, massive, you know, specialist training areas, or we're asking for the bare minimum. And that's to be able, you know, to do the things that we love to do and that we have the ability to do, but because of our financial situation and the government's just kind of turning a blind eye and just saying, well, you know, if you have a medical card, you can have one leg to do you for the rest of your life.
Absolutely, it's actually unfortunate how poor our services are for amputees, because we've been looking into different models, and even the UK with their health service executive, like they provide amputees with an extra prosthetic limb in case there's a scratch, a bang, or anything like that. You know?
And exactly, like if something goes wrong with my limb, I have to obviously give it to Autobot, which is the company that does it, to fix. But for, you know, that week or 2 weeks, I'm back in a wheelchair or I'm back on crutches, you know, and that does massively affect your mental health and your self-esteem.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you just want a fair chance, I suppose. You know, that's the main thing.
You know, and I was never a superstar athlete, or, you know, I'll never make the Olympics or anything, but, you know, everyone should be entitled to do the things they love when the technology is there to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose I hear Don O'Malley, when that's one of our proudest achievements in the party, was when he introduced free second level education. You know, it kind of stopped the whole you should go so far and no further in terms of education. It's a real pity that as a party, even, and as a people, as a country, that we've said to amputees, you should go so far and no further. But hopefully, from talking to you, putting this video out there and making people more aware of the issues, the glaring issues, we can maybe hopefully make some change in that department.
And you know, it's not, you know, us asking for things that'll cost millions. It's us asking for the bare minimum. It literally the bare minimum.
Absolutely. No, it's very reasonable. Like, as you said, and as we've outlined, it's the bare minimum. It's a fair chance.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, geez, thanks so much for talking to us, Ruth. I know it mightn't be easy for you to talk about these things. You definitely.
Oh no, I'm finally talking about it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, but it's heavy stuff. It's stuff, that hard conversations that need to be had. So I'll just maybe afford you the opportunity there to share some closing remarks, maybe about you know, what you need to see, what we need to do, and just anything really you want to put out there.
Well, first of all, I don't think you should have to apply for a leg or any type of prosthetic, because, you know, if you need one, you need one. It's really, I could think of far easier ways to scam the government out of money than to get something amputated. You know, this thing of your quality of life depending on someone in an office willing to sign a form. You know, you could be waiting 6 months for an answer, and that answer could still be no, and then you have to resubmit and wait again, you know. Again, I think your limbs should be, you know, your prosthetic limbs should be provided by the government at all times. Whatever about, you know, there could be grants and stuff made for sporting limbs, you know, to make it easier for people to access sport and things like that. But I think the bare minimum would be just to provide free prosthetics for men, women and children for their life. So their quality of life doesn't depend on their financial situation. And in a country like Ireland that is, you know, economically it is one of the more stable countries in the world, this shouldn't even really be an issue.
No, absolutely. Well, thanks so much for coming to talk to us, Ruth. Guys, we're going to link Ruth's TikTok and her social medias, and especially for me, just so you can give her a bit of support there. And you know, you do talk about issues affecting amputees and your experience on your TikTok, so it's interesting for even myself and other people seeing it. You know, it's very normalized, it's very approachable, it's very, you know, it's digestible material. You know, it's not just some guy waffling to you. It's yourself, your own opinions. But yeah, just thanks so much for coming to talk to us today, Ruth. We really appreciate it.